Last night, the SBU and the armed forces of Ukraine drones attacked two important Russian enterprises working for the enemy military-industrial complex, the Ilsky Oil Refinery and the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station. Last night, the SBU and the armed forces of Ukraine continued to impose drone sanctions against two important Russian enterprises working for the enemy military-industrial complex, the Ilsky Oil Refinery and the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station. At least 20 explosions were heard in the area of the Ilsky refinery. Fire broke out at the plant, which was confirmed even by local authorities. This plant includes 6 oil refining units with a total capacity of 6.6 million tons per year. In February last year, SBU drones already hit this plant. A primary oil refining unit worth $50 million was damaged, the Army of Ukraine said. Also, the source of UNN said that the second successful target of Ukrainian drones was the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station. This is the largest oil pumping station of the Caspian Pipeline Consortium in Russia. As a result of the attack, the station was shut down and decommissioned. Oil is now being pumped bypassing this station. Oil refineries and oil pumping stations in Russia are legitimate targets. Not only do they work for Russia's defense and provide fuel for enemy troops, but they are also important for the Russian economy, which finances the war through oil profits. Therefore, drone visits to these facilities will continue, the source said.
According to Ukrainian military and political observer Alexander Kovalenko, Russia's military transport aviation is facing a severe crisis, with a combination of outdated equipment, production failures and technical challenges undermining its effectiveness. He says that the Russian situation was made more apparent since the start of the war against Ukraine. While attention has mostly focused on tactical aviation, transport plays a crucial role in supplying the troops. The key factor is operational efficiency, and the question arises, how effective is Russia's transport aviation? The main aircraft is the Il-76, and despite having 130 such planes in 2022, their operational reliability is lacking, with only 60% in working condition due to the absence of regular maintenance and upgrades. This has led to a high rate of failures and losses, both in combat and from Ukrainian drone strikes. Production capabilities for a new Il-76s are limited. The Ulyanovsk factory has only delivered 20 Il-76MD-90A units in recent years. This is due to low technological capacity and defects in production, such as engine problems. Additionally, the project for a lighter military transport aircraft, the Il-112V, intended to replace older models, failed due to technical issues. Even with the new design, there were significant defects, including faulty engines and aerodynamic problems, leading to a crash in 2021. As a result, Russia's transport aviation suffers from a lack of quality aircraft, and the absence of Western technologies worsens the crisis. Currently, producing new aircraft is impossible, and modernizing existing ones faces serious obstacles. Recall between the naval force, which very unexpectedly managed to destroy 20% of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, and ground forces facing significant challenges in the Donbass, the Ukrainian Air Force is at a pivotal moment. Ill-prepared and suffering from a huge disadvantage in numbers at the start of the invasion, it nevertheless inflicted severe losses on Russian air forces even before the arrival of American F-16 fighter jets. Since the beginning of the year, 2 A-50 surveillance aircraft and an Il-22 command aircraft have been shot down by Ukrainian anti-aircraft systems. These had been stealthily advanced close to the front line, surprising the Russians. Subsequently, more than a dozen Russian Su-34 fighter bombers and at least one Su-35 fighter were shot down by the same systems, according to the Ukrainian General Staff. In the area of Malaya Lochnia, in Kursk region, the occupiers' offensive failed. As a result, this led to casualties among personnel and the destruction of heavy armored vehicles, said military and political analyst Dmitry Snegirev. Ukrainian soldiers launched a series of preemptive strikes against Russian army columns and North Korean servicemen at the very moment when they were deploying their units. The Russian offensive in the Malaya-Lochnia area in Kursk region, according to the Russian side itself, has effectively stalled. The Russian military themselves in Z Publics note the fact that in Malaya-Lochnia area, the Ukrainian Defense Forces carried out a number of preemptive strikes on columns of the Russian Army and DPRK servicemen at the time of the operational deployment of these units. This led to numerous casualties among personnel and the destruction of heavy armoured vehicles of the enemy. In addition, it should be noted that the exchange fund of the Ukrainian Defense Forces has been significantly replenished by servicemen of the Russian army concentrated in these tactical directions, Snegirev said on the air of the Freedom TV channel. In addition, according to the military political analyst, the Ukrainian counteroffensive began with a preemptive strike by the Ukrainian Defense Forces. It was carried out at the time of the redeployment of Russian army units to the Malaya-Lochnia area. At present, we can say that the zone of presence of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kursk region has expanded by 100 kilometers. A number of populated areas have been taken under control. The populated area of Makhnovka has been completely cleared of Russian presence, and further advancement is underway deep into Russian territory. The Russians themselves acknowledge the fact of advancement of the Ukrainian army, depending on the source, from 5 to 7 kilometers. The guest of the broadcast noted. In addition, Snegirev is convinced that this situation creates problems for the Kremlin, both in informational and political terms. At the time of possible negotiations, the Ukrainian side demonstrated subjectivity in making decisions on conducting offensive operations and expanding the zone of presence in the Kursk region. And despite the fact that the press secretary of the Russian dictator Putin rejects the possibility of exchanging territories between Ukraine and the Russian Federation, there are already reports in the Western press that the Russian side is considering the possibility of territorial exchanges, namely the Kursk region, for the occupied territories of Ukraine. Therefore, the appearance of this information can be considered a controlled leak of information. That is, the Russian side is testing the waters, probing the ground and looking at the reaction, first of all, of the Ukrainian side regarding further possible scenarios. I would also like to note that all deadlines of the Russian side to squeeze the Ukrainian armed forces out of the Kursk region have failed for more than 6 months. The Ukrainian armed forces have not only maintained the situation in the Kursk region, but are also expanding their zone of presence, Dmitry Snegirev stated.